Okay, so today I'm going to show you guys how to tune and reset the pedal and stuff for the Timpani. A lot of times it'll be really hard to push forward or really hard to push back, and it can cause some issues. But we're going to go how to adjust that, make it the same, make sure the head's in tune. And just to start, the first thing we're going to do is every time you start, you want to take a block of wood and put it underneath the pedal, so that it doesn't move at all. We'll put it right inside the pedal. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but put the wood right in the pedal like that. And then if you ever need to change the head, one thing to just keep in mind, always put a little piece of tape on the rim here, so that when you take the rim off, you know where it was, because you want to put it back on the same way. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and loosen all of the bolts. So I'll be back when I do that. Super quick thing to add, when you're loosening and tightening the bolts a lot, you want to make sure that you're going in a star pattern, not just straight around, so keep that in mind. I just got them loosened, so the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and hand tighten each of them. And I find it's easiest to kind of reach underneath between and just tighten it as much as you can with your fingers. And then once you get them all tightened, you just want to make sure that the head is in the middle. So what I do is on opposite ends, I'll put my hands in and make sure that there's about the same size between where the bowl is and where the rim is. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten all those by hand, and then I'll show you the next step after. Okay, so now I've gotten all of the lugs tuned by hand. So I'm going to go through and do a quarter of a turn, still in that star pattern on each one. And then you're going to go through and repeat that about 4 times, a quarter of a turn on each one, 4 times through on the star pattern. So now we're on to the next step here. I've gone through and done the quarter on each of them 4 times. Now I'm going to go ahead and take out the piece of wood. And if you see that your pedal moves and like the heel goes up like that, you're going to want to go through and do a quarter again. So you want to keep doing that quarter and then letting go of the pedal and seeing if it goes up. When it doesn't move, you're ready for the next step. So get to that point. Then afterwards, what you're going to do is you're going to put your foot on the pedal and go ahead and push it all the way up and push it all the way back down. And you're looking to feel whether it's harder to push it down with your heel or whether it's harder to push it up with your toe. If it's even, that means you're good. If the heel is lighter than the toe, so it's easier to push it down, that means that the head is too tight. If the heel feels heavier than the toe, that means the head is too loose. So if the head is too loose, you want to tighten it. If it's too tight, then you want to loosen it. When you loosen it, you want to turn it, the lugs the opposite way twice as much as you actually want it to go, and then halfway back up. So you go, if I want to do a quarter turn, I would do a half a turn down and then a quarter turn up. So go ahead and do that until the foot feels even. The next step, what we're going to do, once the pedal feels even, you just want to make sure that no matter where you put the pedal, it doesn't move, that the pedal stays still. Once you got that, you know that you're ready to do more of the fine tuning with it. One thing to keep in mind, as you do the fine tuning, there's a possibility that the pedal is going to move on its own. That's okay. As long as it doesn't move now, there's something that we're going to do after the drum is completely tuned to fix the pedal afterwards. But you have to do it twice, so don't worry if it gets out of tune. Now that you've done that, we're on the point where we actually want to tune the drum. So what we're going to do with the pedal all the way down, we're just going to hit, with our tuner here, we're going to hit right in the striking zone and see what pitch we get. If the pitch is higher than what the lowest pitch on the drum should be, so for this one, the lowest pitch should be a C. If it's higher, that means you gotta loosen the lugs. Remember, twice as much as you want it to loosen it, and then up halfway. If the note is lower, any note lower, for example, this is between an A sharp and a B, then that's good. I'm gonna move on to the next step. So once you make sure that the drum is lower than the tuning note, you're good to move on. For the next step, what we're gonna do is we're gonna play at each of the lugs. So we're going to play about 2 inches in from each of the lugs. And we're not looking for them to be even now. We're just making sure that each one of them is lower than the pitch of the tuning note. So all of these were either A sharp or B, which means they're lower than the C. If you find that any of the lugs are above a C, you're going to want to loosen that one and then check all the other ones. So once they're all, once each in front of each of the lugs is lower than the pitch, you're good to move on to the next step. Once all of them are lower than the pitch that you want to find which lug is the highest. In this case, that's this lug for me. And this is a very sharp B natural. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and tune the tiniest amount, like 1/16 or an eighth of a turn on each of the other ones, and try and get all of the other lugs to match the sound of my highest one. do not change the tension of the highest one, because this is going to be your reference pitch. Even though that this one isn't in tune yet, we want to get all of them to match that, and then we'll get the whole thing in tune. One thing to note, when you tighten one of the lugs, the lug across from it and the ones next to it will raise and pitch a little bit. So as you go through and do each one of them, you want to go through a couple times because they're going to change how the other lugs sound. So just keep kind of fooling with it until they're all the pitch of your tuning one. So I'll come back once I got that. Okay, so now I've gone through, and each of the lugs are about, I would say, 20 cents within each other. There's no half steps or anything. They're all pretty close. So once you get to that step, now you're ready to start tuning. So if we play the actual note here, I see that I have a B. So what I'm going to want to do is, in the star pattern still, I want to turn them all the exact same amount, because they're all pretty in tune with each other now. I'm going to go up a little bit, and I want, when the pedal is all the way down, I want to get an in tune C. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I will let you know when I get to there. If your pitch is higher than the tuning note, which can happen sometimes, you're just going to want to loosen it. And again, each one, loosen them twice the amount that you want, and then halfway back up. So go ahead and do that step, and then we'll be back. So I just want to let you know, I use the T1 tuner. I found it works pretty well for timpani. But so I've got my pedal all the way down. I've brought them all up. And it's a pretty in tune C there. So now one thing we have to remember to do, once you think you have it in tune, take your pedal, put it all the way up, all the way down. You're going to notice that the pedal is not going to be adjusted how you had it before, and that's okay. So all the way up, do it a couple times. So I was in tune C. Let's see if it changed. Yeah, now I'm like 30 or 40 cents lower. So every time you tune it like that, you're going to want to move the pedal a couple times, get it back to where it was, move the pedal. And after you do that 2 or 3 times, it'll stay in tune because the head is just trying to settle. So go ahead and do that. Move the pedal a couple times and retune it, and then I'll be back. So I've gone ahead and moved the pedal, adjusted it a couple times. We got our in tune C, move the pedal, and it's staying in tune. So that's what we're looking for. So once you get to that step, you're good with that. Now we're going to talk about the pedal. So as you've noticed, now that you've tuned the drum, the pedal is way out of whack. So that's when we're going to go to the pedal adjustment. And I'm going to pause the video now because I want to make sure that you guys have a better view of down by the pedal so that I can show you what we're doing. But we'll go ahead and do that. You're going to want your drum keys, so have that ready. Okay, so now we're over on the floor down here. So now that we have the timpani in tune, you never want to touch this gauge underneath the pedal until the timpani is in tune. So what we're going to do, if we move the pedal all the way in, see how it's moving a little bit? That's not terrible. We move the pedal all the way down, stays down. So right now you can pretty obviously see the toe is way harder to move than the heel. So if the heel moves up when we release the foot, or if the heel feels much heavier than the toe, what you're going to want to do is go in and turn the nut that's down here clockwise. So for this one, the toe is way heavier to put down. So if the toe moves up when you release the foot, or the toe feels way heavier, we are going to turn it clockwise. I'm sorry, if the heel's heavier, you're going to turn counterclockwise, not clockwise. If the toe is heavier, you're going to turn clockwise. So right now our toe is heavier, so I'm going to go through and tighten this. Make sure never do more than 2 full rotations without moving the pedal, because sometimes the tension can cause the pedal to snap. So move it once or twice around, move the pedal a little bit and check, and then do that. So I'll come back when we're done with that. Worked on the pedal. It's now just as easy to push up as it is down, and it doesn't move at all. It stays pretty still. One thing you're going to want to do is, in the previous step where we were like doing the fine adjustment of the tuning, you'll notice since I've messed with the pedal, it's gone about like 30 cents flatter than it was before. So after you adjust the pedal, you'll want to do those minor adjustments just to make sure that it's still in tune. Because you're only moving the head a little bit, you won't have to adjust the pedal again after that. You're only going to be moving it like the tiniest amount to go back up that like 20, 30 cents. So yeah, and then just one thing, when you're not using the timpani, you want to put the pedal about halfway. If you're not going to be using it for a long time, you put the pedal all the way down. Like when we leave over break, we're going to want to put all the pedals down. And if you're ever moving the timpani, you want the pedal to be all the way up so that the head stays tight, so that things can't jostle or move around as much. But yeah, so that's how to tune the timpani. If you have any questions, let me know. But that's how you tune the Yamaha timpani that we have at Crane. Thank you.